So who's right and who's wrong in this case? Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the quote-unquote Citi Bike Karen case. Now, you may be offended at the name Citi Bike Karen, or that's a racial slur, ABL. I'm not calling her that. That's just what it's called. Her name is Sarah Jane Camry, and the teenager, the 17-year-old, his name is Michael. I don't know his last name. Now, before we get into the video and my opinion and receipts, evidence, or whatnot, let's explain what's going on here. Now, there was a dispute in New York City, Manhattan, over a Citi Bike. A 36-year-old pregnant woman, 6 months pregnant, by the name of Sarah Jane Camry, got off of work from Bellevue Hospital, where she's a physician's assistant, and she goes to the bike rack to rent a bike out. There's 17-year-old Michael. He is there next to the bike, on the bike, touching the bike. We'll talk about that in a minute. There's a dispute over who is the rightful possessor of the bike. Is it the woman or is it the 17-year-old young man? Now, before we even get into any of that, let's roll the video in question. If you want to see it in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Help me!
So let's just stop it at certain points. You see what's happening right here. That's Michael and that's Sarah. Now, Sarah wants to take this bike, so she is sitting on the seat, but Michael is holding it right here by the handlebar. That's important. We'll talk about that a little bit more a little bit later.
Please help me!
It's not your bike.
Please help me!
It's not your bike. It's not your bike.
Please help me! Help! Please get off me! Please get off me!
Yo, don't let take it, bro. Now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Man, now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Help!
You're not getting
Get
the
off
bike.
me,
I'm
dude.
not. Bro,
Why you took his phone?
Okay, so there's quite a few things going on already. First of all, she's screaming, help, 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 help. But there's no violence against her, number one. Number two, she took one of the kids' phones. And mind you, these are all high school kids. Michael, 17 years old, senior in high school, getting ready to graduate. His friends are all right around the same age. They came from the Bronx down to Harlem and then to where this is on Manhattan, 30th Street, Manhattan, right by where she works.
What's wrong with you?
You're not
Don't touch
touching
his
my
phone.
phone.
Do not touch his
You're
phone.
fetus.
I'm not touching you. You putting
You're hurting my fetus. Keyword.
your stomach on my hand.
Help!
No, dude, stop. No, dude, stop. No. I said no. I said sit down.
Please help me!
She's just crying.
You're not crying. You're not crying. I
Stupid.
got you
It's
on
my
video.
bike.
Wait, you pulled it out? Hey, Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan.
So right here, she's trying to take the bike off of the dock. All right. But the young man is not letting her do that. We'll talk about why in a minute.
I don't give a
Hassan, you pulled it out?
This is my bike. It's on my account. Please move.
All right, so why don't we reset the bike?
I'm not resetting the bike.
It's his. It's his. It's
on my
his.
Reset it, and I'm gonna pull it out on your account.
You an actor. Stop fake crying.
Guys,
She's fake crying. Stop fake crying.
Hey, stop touching me. I don't touch you.
Hold up.
Hey, stop touching me. Stop touching me.
Why don't you take this bike?
Stop touching me.
I will. I can't.
Exactly.
Out of here.
So take it.
You're stupid.
Now, what she does right here is get off of the bike and then go to another bike that's right beside her, because there were other bikes on the bike rack. The bike that Michael was next to and touching was not the only bike that existed. Okay. Now, the dispute was over that specific bike because it's a newer version. So to make a long story short, before we go any further, the dispute was over the new version of the bike. She wanted it and she couldn't have it. That was the whole dispute. Now, let's go to this video right here. This shows the new version of the bike next to the older one. You see, that's the one right there with the white paint on it. Okay, I'm not sure if that's the exact same bike that she was tussling with Michael over, but this is the newer version of the bike compared to the older one. So I guess the seat might be a little bit more comfy, might be a little bit more wide or whatever the case may be, but they don't look too much different, but they do most certainly look different. All right. It's a newer version of the bike. She wanted that one and he was not letting that happen. Now there's a video right here from Michael's sister. I'm not going to play that because I can read an article and get through what she went through, but I did see the video. I'm acknowledging it. And if you want to see that, of course, I'll link to it in the description box, as is everything else. Now, Both sides have provided receipts. The woman, her lawyer put out a receipt that said that she was the rightful quote unquote owner of the bike. And let me see if I can find that receipt right quick. But also the young man, his family put out receipts as well. See this right here? I'm not sure if you guys can see it. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit. This receipt is from the woman's attorney, Sarah's attorneys. So she rented it at that particular stop, First Ave and 30th Street, East 30th Street in Manhattan at 724 and ended at 725. That's when she was trying to take it out of the bike rack and he wasn't letting it happen. But there are receipts showing that exact same bike, number 560-3195, that came from first in the Bronx where Michael lives to Harlem and then through Manhattan. Let me see if I can find the first one here. So here's the first receipt. This comes from Bronx to Manhattan, Grand Concourse and East 164th to Amsterdam and West 136. So you go from Bronx right here across the river into Harlem, which is on Manhattan Island, but obviously the Harlem neighborhood. And then he went from Amsterdam and West 136 to St. Nick and Manhattan, also obviously Harlem. This is from 608 to 630. And there's another receipt. He goes from St. Nick and Manhattan to First and East 30th. So you go from, you're still on Manhattan Island, but you go from Harlem to Manhattan proper as the borough. And that's where all the drama starts. Okay, so 719 is when he docked the bike. But here's the key. A lot of YouTubers are saying, well, hey, ABL, he docked the bike right here, so it's available for everybody to pick up. He can't just say the bike is his. It doesn't belong to him. He docked the bike. It's no longer in his possession. Well, if somebody docks a bike and they're still physically on it, and still physically touching it, can you come up to me and move me off the bike and rent it because it's docked? Can you do that? Can you assault me to get me off the bike? How does that really work? Like if I'm sitting on the bike seat, can you rent it although I'm on it? How does that work? Now, in the case of Michael, he was not physically on it. He was just touching the handlebars, because here's how the whole thing about these bikes work in New York City. The way it is, if you ride it for fewer than 45 minutes, you do not have a price increase. And if you are on a reduced payment program or a free program like Michael is, 17 years old, no money, low income, African immigrant parents, you can get it for free if it's written for fewer than 45 minutes. So what a lot of people do is they will ride for about 40 minutes or so, dock it, let it sit for a minute or two, take it back off the dock and keep on going. And these are bicycles, pedal bikes, not motorcycles, not scooters. These are bicycles that you rent out. He has a membership. He's an avid e-bike rider, and that's the way that it works. That's the way everybody does it. What happened was Miss Sarah Jane Camry, what she wanted to do was get that specific bike that he was still touching. He goes, let me come back so you can see me clearly. And I have evidence. Of course, I got my receipts right here. That's her receipt. That's another one. All this right here will be in the description box. The account from Michael's family is in here as well. I'm going to come back to the full screen and wrap it on up with the bow on it. Here's what she did. She gets off work and she goes to the teenagers and asks, hey, can I get one of you guys' bikes? And then they politely decline. She goes to Michael, asks the same question. He says, no, thank you. I'm about to go back to the Bronx. Now, his friends were sitting on their bikes, so she couldn't actually take one of theirs. And I don't think they had their bikes docked. They might have had their bikes off the dock. She goes to Michael. His bike's on the dock, but he's still physically touching it. He has his hand on it like he's about to get back on it. She does not want to take no for an answer, according to what I'm reading. She gets frustrated. She's pregnant, hormonal, whatever the case may be. 36 years old, 6 months pregnant. She doesn't want to take no for an answer. So she gets on the bike anyway and then scans it and tries to remove it. The whole time, he's still holding it. So what are you going to do? Just make me get off? Now, some are going to say, well, hey, ABL, you should have been a gentleman and let her get the bike. Now we're shifting the goalposts from it was docked and anybody can get it to, well, he did bring it there from the Bronx. He was getting ready to leave and get ready to rent it again, but he should just let her have it. Now we're talking about altruism and kindness. I mean, he could have just let go of the bike and took one of the other bikes, but same thing goes for her. She could have took one of the other bikes. Why is it up to him to do that for her, but not the other way around? Especially when he's already physically touching it, already on it. The only thing was he was not sitting in the seat. If he was sitting in the seat, then you don't hear about it. And speaking about hearing about it, I don't know who uploaded this video. It should have just stayed right there on that street in Manhattan. It was a petty argument over in about 2 minutes. It's New York City. There's always little arguments and aggression like this happen all the time. That's just what it is. So I don't know who put the video online to begin with. If it was an attempt to get the young man some money, some attention, that was wrong, obviously. But if it was uploaded to protect him from a video or a narrative that had been made about him before, then it was right. Because in the case of the bike, she was wrong. Now, somebody could say that he should have just gave it up. But now, again, we're talking about altruism and being nice, all that kind of stuff. Ain't nobody entitled to that. I mean, I don't know you. I'm not your baby daddy. Like, nah. So ultimately, I say that Sarah, in this case, was wrong to try and physically strong arm it from the young man. And if the video was uploaded to try and make her look bad, to try to attack her and to get some money, whoever did that is wrong if it was done for that reason. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Who do you think was right and who was wrong in this case? Do you think the young man was wrong for docking the bike and not letting it go when she asked him? Was she in the wrong for trying to get on the bike and strong arm him off the bike? Because if he's touching it and she goes to him and asks, hey, can I get the bike? I'm pregnant. Do me a favor. And he says no. And she gets on it anyway and tries to take it. I mean, what's going on with that? And she took one of the guy's phones. What's that got to do with the bike? What's that got to do with anything? Some are going to say, well, hey, ABL, you know, she's not going to do that. She's not going to be crazy to try to accost these teenagers, these black teenagers. First of all, what's race got to do with it? Second of all, people do crazy things all the time. You'd be surprised. I see stories every single day of people doing things that you never thought they would do. You never thought somebody would do something, but they do it. So I don't look at race. I don't look at none of that. I look at the facts. I look at the evidence. Same thing, the whole Daniel Penny situation. Okay. I knew based upon the video, based upon the circumstance, based upon witness statements that he was in the right for putting Jordan Neely in the chokehold, and it was a mistake that he died. It was not racially motivated or anything like that. I could look at things objectively and not put the race into it, look at the facts, look at what makes sense, and then draw my conclusion that way. Point blank, period. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.